Sir, what did you tell Viv Richards when he went back to the dressing room when Kapil Paji caught him and Madipa was the bowler? Because the way he was batting, it seemed as if your team wanted to finish off the final in an hour or so. Maybe you had a flight or a bus to catch. What did you tell him when he went back to the dressing room?
Well, what can you tell someone like Viv Richards who just, got out? And I suppose the point is that he's played so many great innings for us. We can't just depend on one individual. It's a team effort, and probably we should have played much better because if you notice, we bat very deep and we just didn't play well. And you can't just blame Viv Richards. I blame Kapil Dev for catching him.
Did someone shed tears in the dressing room, in the West Indies dressing room?
Sorry?
25th June,
Did anyone in the West Indies dressing room cry when you lost?
No, they were very sullen faces, there's no doubt about that, because the guys probably thought that, they should have won that. And we had some young players, we had 2 or 3 of them who'd never played in a World Cup final or ever, so it's obvious that it was sad for them. But we'd won 2 before, so the point is getting there was important. We were runners-up, and it's quite obvious that we were unhappy about the situation, but we had given the mantle to somebody else, and a team that played much better than we did.
Well, they took revenge on India. 6 months later, they came to India and beat us 5-0. So the West Indies knew how to take revenge. Boria, you have a question?
Question for both Ricky and Steve. That period, 1999 to 2007, you won everything. Test match cricket, one-day cricket, World Cups. What was the mantra in them? What was the sort of slogan inside the Australian dressing room? What was it like? Obviously, it was one of the best teams. Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath, Jason Gillespie. You keep going. But tell us, what was the attitude that you all brought to the game, made the cult of the baggy green, that for 9 years a team doesn't lose?
I think we had the attitude that we never became complacent. We always saw ourselves, even if we were ranked number 1, I think we imagined ourselves as being number 2, always trying to chase someone down. Every day we tried to improve, we tried to raise the bar high. So once we played a really good game, we knew that was the standard we were capable of, so we didn't want to drop below that. So it was always about aspiring to play better. There's a lot of competition to be in the side. You knew that if your form dropped off or you became complacent, someone would take your spot, and that may be the end of your career. So you were always, wanting to perform. It was pride in your performance. It was pretty simple. We knew we were part of a fantastic era of Australian cricket, and we wanted to capitalise on that.
Both of you also have won 16 test matches in a row. While we are celebrating World Cups, that is also an achievement that perhaps no captain will ever be able to match. 16 test matches on the trot, twice between the two of you, 32.
Yeah, look, I think if you asked Stephen the same question, it'd be one thing that I'm probably most proud of out of my whole playing career is the fact that we were able to sustain success over very long periods of time. And when you consider, winning 16 consecutive test matches, it's winning 3 or 4 in a row is a hard thing to do, let alone win 16. And it happened twice through that, through two very good cricket teams, if you like. But the thing that stood out most about, and Stephen just touched on it then, the thing that stood out most for me anyway, coming into a fairly established team when I came into the side, was just how much the individual senior players tried to make themselves better on a daily basis. And seeing Steve Waugh go to the nets and stay in the nets for 2 hours until he was happy and come out, watching Glenn McGrath bowl in the nets until he was happy with the way his run-up felt and his rhythm felt. I can't say the same thing about Warney because he didn't do that much in the nets. He didn't have to, but the individual players and the will for the individual players just to make themselves that little bit better meant that if the individuals did that, then, the team performance was always going to improve. So, no matter what some of these more senior players in the Australian cricket team had ever achieved, on a daily basis were trying to find a way to make themselves better.
We haven't spoken about one, from an Indian perspective, one great, Sachin Tendulkar. Achieved his ambition to win a World Cup finally in 2011. Had played a first World Cup in 1992. So it took him 20 years almost to achieve his ambition. Do you believe Alan Border, a great cricketer today, is not complete until he has won a World Cup? Is it important to win that World Cup before you can claim truly to be a great?
Not necessarily, but it is a great feather in the cap, isn't it, to actually be part of a winning World Cup side. There's no doubt about that. It's just, I suppose, players who don't achieve that, and there's many, a lot of Englishmen, they'd feel that that's something that on their CV that's missing. There's just something missing in the overall. You look at all your stats and things like that. But if you've won a World Cup, it is a special thing. There's no doubt about that.
Let me open it up again to more questions that the audience has.
Can I ask one more, Rajdeep, if I'm permitted?
Yeah, go ahead.
He mentioned Sachin Tendulkar. You've talked about some amazing players, Arvinda De Silva, several others, Ricky himself. Just by consistency, 500 plus in 96, 673 in 2003, 492 in 2011, 6 World Cups. Would you say that just because of his consistency, he is the best ever batsman in the history of Cricket World Cup?
Who's that to? You want to know whether Sachin Tendulkar is the greatest ever
World Cup batsman.
Remember, again, you're in front of an Indian audience.
I must admit, I didn't know those stats, but they're very impressive, aren't they?
The answer is yes, mate.
I think it's just a simple yes, isn't it? Over that amount of time to be that consistent in one-day cricket, because it's easy to have an off little period. You're talking about, 6 to 7 weeks of a cricket tournament, to be that consistent, quite incredible. So, yeah, if he's not the best, he's in the grand final.
Okay, let's open it up to more questions. Yes, the gentleman at the back. Please have a mic if you have one. Yes.
Is too much of IPL a death knell for Test cricket?
Let me put it differently. Why just test cricket? Since we are looking at the World Cup, is too much of IPL or 2020 going to be a death knell, Amir Sohail, for even the World Cup?
No, Rajdeep, it has kind of helped India in the ODIs, but Test cricket, it's really taken a dip.
Okay, let me. Is it a death knell for Test cricket, and will it also one day affect 50-over cricket? Will 50-over cricket look boring?
We don't have to worry about it. At least cricket is being played. So authorities, they have to do something to take Test cricket forward. If they have decided to have 2 World Cups in 4 years, T20 World Cups, if IPL is spanned over 3 months, then it's the authorities, they have to take care of the game. So we don't have to worry about it. Just enjoy the game.
Do you believe T20 Amir is good for skills in one-day cricket, or is it not good for skills in one-day cricket? Because many good young Indian cricketers today are graduating from T20 to playing one-day and even Test cricket.
It's a fallacy. If somebody is a good cricketer, he has a good technique, he can do well in Test match cricket. He'll be a very good player in one-day cricket, and he can be an exceptional player in T20. So it's all about technique, and it's your mindset.
Last wicket batsman batting, and he needs to score 4 to 5 runs, and there is MS Dhoni. So more pressure will be on batting side or a bowling side?
That's a good question. Amir Sohail, if there are 4 runs to win, there's a bowler and MS Dhoni is batting. Who's under more pressure, the bowler or the batsman?
Obviously, pressure is going to be on both. He has to get 4 runs. He's captain of India. Expectation level is so high, and bowler is going to be obviously under pressure.
But Dhoni never looks under pressure. You believe that's deceptive?
Well, that's the quality of that player. He has this calm exterior. Whether he's breaking inside, he doesn't give it away. So that's why he's been so successful.
Okay, let's get, yes, Atit at the back. Yes, Atit.
We've discussed everyone, but what role does someone like, someone sitting in a dressing room, someone like John Buchanan or a Gary Kirsten, Chappell's name in 2007 World Cup, but what role does a coach play when it comes to World Cup especially?
So, sorry, I missed...
The basic question is, what role does a coach play? Whether it's a Gary Kirsten or a John Buchanan, do coaches have a role to play in winning World Cups?
Yeah, of course they do, yeah. I don't think, at international level these days, I don't think the coach is necessarily teaching the players how to hit a cover drive or how to bowl an outswinger. But what they're doing is, one of the themes that's come up through the day is about managing people well and challenging people in different ways. And I've never had this conversation with Steve Waugh, but I actually think John Buchanan was probably the best coach that I played under, and he didn't teach me anything about batting. But on a daily basis, he was challenging me to be a better player, he was challenging me in different ways, and he was challenging every one of the senior players and younger players in the Australian team and to look at things in a different way and try things and innovate and just try and find little ways to make yourself just that little bit better.
One last question from the audience. Yes, gentleman here. The little girl should get the first chance. I don't think any little girl has got a chance. Go ahead.
मेरा सवाल कपिल जी से है.
No, the girl. First the girl.
Yeah.
I'm Trisha. My question is, there is so much of cricket today. Does the panel think of burnout amongst cricketers?
She's asked a very good question. She believes, she's worried, will there be a burnout among cricketers? Is there too much of cricket that leads to a burnout, Alan Border? Are cricketers getting burnt out?
Look, it does appear that there's a lot of cricket being played now. I mean, the average, if you play all three forms of the game, yes, you're playing a lot of days of cricket, a lot of preparation, a lot of travel. So there is the wear down factor. I think the actual playing of the game is not the situation. It's more the practice that's involved and the travel. That's the wear down factor over a period of time.
If you were still around, would you like to play the IPL?
I'd love to play IPL.
Okay.
I'm available too if anyone's interested.
Okay. Now in the final segment, we are going to raise the question of who's going to win the World Cup and what is that one thing who is that one player going to be who they believe, who our esteemed panel of World Cup winning captains and World Cup winners believe will win the World Cup. I'm going to start with you, Clive Lloyd, since you won the first World Cup. Who's going to win the 2015 World Cup? And who is that one player you believe who will have that decisive impact?
Well, it's very difficult to say who would win the World Cup. It's no doubt about that.
Who's your favorite?
But I think then a couple of teams really that are good enough. I think Australia's got a pretty good team. India's got a pretty good team. They're winning. They're consistent, and it's a team that is consistent. And they're playing in two different countries, and I don't think they're sort of not similar conditions. So I think it's those who acclimatize themselves rather quickly and who can get that consistency and that winning attitude. So I would.
So Australia or India, right? Not West Indies. Anyone but West Indies.
Well, we don't know who's going to play for the West Indies yet, actually. That's the problem. But you have Sri Lanka too. Sri Lanka's got a pretty good all-round side. New Zealand's got a good side. So it's going to be a very difficult. I think this.
Pick a favorite. Pick a favorite.
I would think probably a team like Australia would probably do well.
Okay, team like Australia would do well. Kapil, I'm going to ask you this question last, but I'm going to go to Alan Border. There's generally a feeling that host team don't do well in the World Cup. India was an exception in 2011. Clive Lloyd is saying the Australians will win the World Cup or are favourites. Do you believe that the Australians are the favourites or being in home conditions is actually pressure? And who is your favourite?
It's extra pressure, no doubt about that, playing in front of your own crowd. It can work both ways, that too, can't it? You know the conditions well. I like Australia for this World Cup. They'll know the conditions. If all the players are fit and available, they'll be a very hard side to beat, and they'll beat South Africa in the final.
So it'll be an Australia-South Africa final. And is there any player that you believe who will carry this World Cup?
I think Glenn Maxwell is showing signs that he's going to really just break free at some stage. I hope it's in the World Cup.
Okay, spoken like a good Australian. Amir Sohail, who is your pick for the 2015 World Cup?
Well, we spoke about it earlier, and when you're analyzing teams, how they're going to go in a particular tournament, you have to see how many impact players there are, how many options in batting and bowling captain has. If you look around, then Australia is number one. They have most of their batsmen, they could bowl. They could assist the captain. And if you talk about their frontline bowlers, they could actually contribute with the bat. So I think Australia is number one. Number two is South Africa. Number three, Sri Lanka, India,